Hey everybody, Z Garcia here. Today I'm taking a look at a solitaire card game based on the Cthulhu Mythos and the writings of H.P. Lovecraft. This is Arkham Noir. In this card game, the solitaire player is attempting to solve open cases. They are basically an investigator, and you're going to be doing that by playing lead cards next to the open cases, trying to find the right clues for the right moment, being careful with how you lay things out, and ultimately closing those cases and getting all the necessary clues that you need to win the whole thing. There are a few things, of course, that are going to end the game with a negative outcome for you, and you need to keep an eye on those as well. So, all that to say, of course, that the game is going to have a lot of sort of symbol matching, and it's a fairly puzzle sort of concept. Let's take a look at it, give you a look at the game. I'm not going to explain every little thing, just want to give you an overview. Then we'll come on back and I'll tell you what I think of this one. So here's the game set up. We've got here our 5 leads. We've got our open cases. You begin with 2 open cases. The extra victims are over here, which will become open cases later on. And we have the deck of leads right here, from which I draw 3 cards as my opening hand. You've also got all these aid cards everywhere. They do a good job of explaining the game and sort of helping you move along, but there are a lot of little rules in the game. The overall idea here is that you are trying to play these lead cards to the open cases in order to find clues and discover those clues, which would go over here in this area where it says big picture, has the puzzle piece there, which is what you're looking for. And once you've gathered 5 different ones with different symbols at the top, you will win the game. You will lose if you trigger over here. You run out of these victim cards and you need to play another one and you cannot. You're going to lose because of that. You're also going to lose from a stability check over here overrunning you. So if you've got 5 cards up here, then you're also going to lose because of that. So, the way the game works is on your turn you are going to have 2 different phases. The first one involves doing something with the first lead, normally. In the second one, you're simply checking a few things and making sure that you haven't won or lost the game and resetting the game state for the next round. You've got a few reference cards right here that are going to help you figure out what's going on, and you've even got your little turn summary right there. So, the action phase, which is the first phase, you are going to do one of 5 things. You can pick the first lead here, and with that lead, you can either put it in your hand, you can play it to an open case, as long as the symbols match. And so, for example, if this was the lead, the first lead there, if I took it, I could play it because it has a book symbol on the side next to that open case, since it has a book symbol there, but not next to this one. There's no symbol match there. So, take it in your hand, play it to an open case. You can discard it and play one of the ones in your hand from the 3 you were dealt at the beginning, and that number might go up and down, but you do have a hand limit of 3. You can discard it and close an open case that has the necessary cards next to it to be scored, or you can simply discard it and just pass. When you discard these, they go right here, except every time you discard a card for any reason, you have to make a check on that card. There are 2 symbols down here sometimes. One of them is the stability symbol, and if you are forced by something in-game to make a stability check, you would take a card, you would draw it, and if it has that symbol, it goes up here. That's bad. And then the other one is the time penalty, which is the hourglass there, and anytime you discard a card for any reason, if it has that symbol, you're going to put it over here, and once there are 5 up here, you're under the gun as far as time pressure goes. You're going to take these cards and discard them, but then you have to open another case, and again, that's going to put time pressure on you because you don't want to run out of those. You want to make sure that you've got something in reserve for when you need to open up a new case. As I said, if you run out of those, you're going to be in trouble and the game's going to beat you. The second part of the round is the maintenance phase, as I said, and you're going to check if you've won by having 5 different symbols up here. If you have a stability penalty, problem, which is this right here. Again, if you have 5, you lose. You are going to check the time penalty area, which if you go at 5 or higher, you cycle them in, as I said, and open up another case, and then you simply refill this line. So let's go ahead and take a turn or two. So I'm going to start with this one here. Now this card, just like many other cards, is going to have a few different parts to it. They have a symbol at the top, and you want to play different symbols to a case, because when you intend to close that case, there need to be 5 different symbols, 5 different clues, besides the one with the puzzle piece. And so let's go ahead and find one of those, like that one there. That's one of the winning cards, all right? So this one, this symbol, when you are attempting to close a case, you're going to remove that and then check how many symbols are left. You want to have 5 different ones, at least. So that's what the center symbol is. This one up here in this case means that this needs to be the 3rd or later card in an investigation. This key must be played before you play one that has a lock. And then you've got the symbols in the corner, as I mentioned already, and the ones across the bottom. If they are in black, they are forced. If they are in that tan brown color, then that is an optional power you can choose to take. So I'm going to start right here. This one, unfortunately, cannot be played yet because it needs to be the 3rd or later card played to a line. So I'm going to pick it. I'm going to discard it. When I discard it, I check. It does have the time penalty symbol, so it goes over here. And my choice is going to be to play one from my hand. I'm going to go ahead and play this card from my hand here. It has a key. That's good. The symbol match is there. And then the text box does not have any special powers, no forced or optional powers. So I'm done. Then I do phase 2. There's nothing that needs to be dealt with there. I move these over, I replenish them, and I go again. So now I'm taking a look at this card here. This one, unfortunately, I have no resource match there. So what I'm going to do with that one is I'll take it, I'll put it in my hand. And this all advances. And we refill the line. Then I'm looking at this card. This one I'm going to play down here. It says any right there, so it'll match with any previous symbol. And then some things are going to happen as it shows across the bottom. One is mandatory, which is a stability check. I take the top card, I flip it. It does not have that symbol, thankfully. It does, however, have the hourglass. Goes up here. And then the other symbol there lets me take a card into my hand from the line. Again, that's optional. So I could do that. I'm going to go ahead and take, let's see. I'm going to take this one, put it in my hand. That, however, puts me at 4. I have to discard a card. And the card I'm going to discard is this one here. It does not have the hourglass. So I'm simply going to put it in the discard pile right here. This all moves along. And it is, again, the beginning of the turn. And this is going to continue. So let me go ahead and jump forward a little bit and show you how to close an open case. Alright, so the game has moved along quite a bit by now. As you can see, I've still got the same 2 open cases. This one has quite a few cards under it. This one's got plenty as well. My time penalty right here is right on the threshold of triggering. I've got 4 there. And then a single card in the stability area. I had a couple, but I was able to pull one back into my hand through one of the powers. That allows me to draw one back to myself. This one right here lets me take one back into my hand. So at this point, taking a look at this open case here, I am ready to close that case. And so I'm going to take a look at the symbols. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a repeat. And 5 symbols, and that's also a repeat. 5 different symbols out there, again, before I remove the clue itself, the puzzle piece. If I had 6 different ones before I remove this, I would take one of these cards back into my hand. However, I don't. And so now I would remove this and make sure that by removing this, I've still got 5, which I do. This is a repeat. This one's going to go over here. Those are still enough to close the case, And in order to do that, by the way, I still need to take this card and discard it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's got the sand timer there. So it goes up here. I take all of these cards and I move them up here to the case closed area. These are removed from the deck. They don't just go in the discard pile. So I'll put them up there. And then I remove this as well. So that's done. You could scoot this up if you so chose. I'm going to update the line there, and then I'm going to deal with this as well. So first thing is check victory condition for the second stage. Okay, check victory condition. That hasn't happened yet. I'm 1/5 of the way there. Then I am going to check the stability penalty, which is fine. I haven't lost because of that yet. Then time penalty, and that does trigger. It lets me know right here that if it's 5 or more, then new victim, and I put these in the discard pile. So I'll take all these, discard stack, new victim, right here. And then I am going to refill the row. So I'll go ahead and scoot these over, and I'm ready to begin a brand new turn. So that's how that goes. That's what you're attempting to do ultimately is find these, make sure you play the key, if it's a lock, before that lock. Make sure you have the collection of symbols you need, the different kinds of clues you need. Open these up, get 5 different ones, and then you win the whole thing. Besides that, there's a couple of other little nuances. You begin with this card, for example, that you can use once per game. It's got two sides, and so you can use it once per game, for example, if you need a key and you don't have one. Well, you can discard this card and assume you have a key, play one of these out there without needing the key before it. You've also got the ability to change the difficulty of the game by flipping over some of these cards, where now it's a little bit easier because it only triggers at 6 and 6, as opposed to standard difficulty is 5 and 5 for those 2 penalties, and a couple of little things like that. The powers generally are going to allow you to draw cards from here, maybe take one back from here, maybe take one back from the time penalty, cycle in the discard pile into the deck without triggering a penalty, without it being forced upon you, different things like that. So that's pretty much it. That should give you an idea of the kinds of manipulation you're going to have to do, the sort of puzzle solving you're looking at when you play Arkham Noir. So let's go back up top. Let me tell you what I think about it and how it feels. That is Arkham Noir, so let's talk about it. We're going to start with thematic ties. Is the theme original? Is it well implemented? This is basically an abstract symbol matching sort of game that's been infused with enough, H.P. Lovecraft mythos, which I'm a big fan of, and enough little twists that I think the theme does come through. It's enough to pull you into what's going on. I find it engaging. It's a game that makes me think of other solitaire sort of card-driven symbol matching games. This one with a nice layer of this theme on top. And for me, that works. I like that it's there without taking away from being a largely mechanism-driven card game. Aesthetics, component quality, artwork, things like that. I think the artwork is fantastic in this game. I like that everything looks like it belongs in the same world. It's all congruent. It's great. I like the look a lot. The card quality is fantastic as well. All the cards are linen finished. They fit well into the box. The box is, a little bit bigger than it needs to be, but not oversized, I would say. All of the player aids and everything are very handy. It's a fantastically produced little card game. Replayability. Does the game show you new things to discover from session to session? I would say that the replayability is pretty good in this one, largely because there are enough different actions, enough different things to watch out for, that some of them are going to crop up their evil heads in some games, and in some they won't. In some games, you are going to be pushing against cases becoming available too quickly. In some of them, you're going to have to really keep an eye out on the stability check. In some of them, you can just not get the cases done quickly enough. And if you go past 7 cards, by the way, then you have to start making stability checks because you're staying up late working on these cases, which means, or I think it might be time penalty checks. I forget right now. But anyway, you have to start possibly taking penalties if you work on a case for too long, past 7 cards. So sometimes you're going to have to deal with that. I like the different aspects to it. It's a game that's really challenging. It is difficult, and I'll talk about in ease of play how I feel about what's available as far as choices. But the replayability, I would say, is there. I've enjoyed replaying this. Game length. Is it interesting the whole time? Does it get repetitive? Things like that. I would say it's a tad long for what I want, I guess, for how involved the game is. It's a little long. Sometimes it'll take you quite a while to get even the first clue discovered, the first puzzle piece. So I do wish it was perhaps a little tighter, a little shorter. Not to say that the design is not tight. It's a very tight game. It does feel largely streamlined. It's just sometimes, not every time, but sometimes it can outstay its welcome by a little bit, By the time I've got my 4th clue, I'm like, okay, come on, now let me find this last one or die trying. Let's get this over with. So a little long. Ease of play. Is it fiddly? Are there any extraneous rules, things like that? Is it easy to learn? It's a little tricky to learn, I'll say that. It's one that I wasn't expecting that many little symbols and rules and this and that from such a tiny card game. I guess that's not bad, because they did pack quite a bit into just a deck of cards. But it can be a little bit fiddly with checking, okay, which penalty do I need to check for now? Am I forgetting any little rules? Things like that. Like I said, the cards on the table, the aids, do a good job of keeping you up to speed with everything. But it verges on the edge of, wow, there's a lot of little rules in this game. Lastly, tactics and strategy. Is it too lucky? Is it balanced? Are there interesting choices? Things like that. There's certainly luck in the game. You are flipping random cards. You always have to deal with the first one unless you discard it and play one from your hand. But there are enough powers. There are enough interesting little choices, puzzle moment to puzzle moment to puzzle moment, that the game feels very tactical. And I like that in card games especially. I don't need an overreaching plan. This game will not have that, okay? You are reacting to what's going on. But to say that it's just luck is ludicrous. I mean, the game has a lot of tactics in it. You are going to be managing what you put where. Can you use this? Do I want to draw this card? Or just discard it and do something else, things like that. So when you use that special card that gets set aside at the beginning, that's also an important consideration. You get it once for the whole game. So it's one that I find engaging. So overall, Arkham Noir is one I had heard about. I like solitaire games. I like card games. And I wasn't sure what to expect. I wasn't sure if this was going to be a fully abstracted game with the ever-popular Cthulhu Mythos slapped on top of it. I'm happy to say I don't think that's the case. I think there's enough here that it elevates the game from being simply a solitaire activity to an engaging pseudo-thematic game. And I'm happy to keep exploring it. I'm hoping that they continue this line of games because it does say Arkham Noir Case 1, so I'm ready for Case 2, to be honest with you. This one is good stuff. If you want something a little bit like one of my all-time favorites, Onirim, and you are looking for a game that's, gonna be slower, but also more thematic and a little more in-depth, a little more involved, then maybe this is what you're looking for. So, that is Arkham Noir. This one's gonna get a seal of approval from me. Look into it, folks, if this is your bag. And that's it for me. Thanks for checking this out with me. I'm Z Garcia, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com.